Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and I'm here in Seville for the Seville Marathon, which is tomorrow. It's the first time I've run this event, but it looks fantastic. Flattest marathon in Europe according to all the marketing spiel around it. But in general, it's well known to being a fast, flat marathon and one of the earliest ones of the year that you can go for good, fast time here in Europe. Gill's also out here. She's going to be running the marathon as well. We're both out here in some way with Asics. Asics sorted my place in the race and Gill is out with an Asics trip. So we're both going to be using Asics shoes, but the Metaspeed Sky Paris is the shoe I use anyway when I'm going for a PB, and I am going for a PB tomorrow. Got a bit of a moonshot target, I think it's fair to say. Like, goal I'd love to really pull off one day, or hopefully tomorrow, is a 2:24 marathon, a sub 2:25. I'd love a 2:25 or a 2:26 as well tomorrow, which should both be PBs. Current PB is 2:27. I kind of rolled into this marathon straight off the back of Valencia training that did not result in the Valencia marathon because I twisted my ankle in the taper for that event. So I was then able to secure a spot here through Asics to carry over all that fitness that I had for Valencia, a couple more months training, and here we are now ready to have a good crack at it. In terms of the kit I'm going to use, it is pretty much my very standard running kit from head to toe. So all the usual stuff I've worn before many times, and the only difference might be instead of contacts, I might wear these Sunny's prescription sunglasses depending on what the weather looks like. Got a normal headband, got my club vest, which is a Soar vest. I've got my Decathlon shorts, which have a lot of storage. I think I've got sports socks, my unicorn socks from my daughter, and the Metaspeed Sky Paris on my feet. Usual nutrition strategy, which is Morton kind of all the way. Big bottle of Morton 320 before the race, and every 5k I have something, either a Morton gel or half a 250ml soft flask of Morton drink, which again is the 320 drink mixed up in a 500ml bottle and put into two different soft flasks. So I carry a lot with me. On the wrist, I've got a couple of Garmins. I've got the Garmin Fenix 8 47mm and the Garmin Forerunner 965. Both excellent watches. We've talked about a lot on the channel again. It's really impressive in terms of GPS accuracy. But you can see how the heart rate accuracy is out there tomorrow because I won't be wearing a chest strap, so I'll be kind of looking at them a little bit after the race to see if there's any unexpected anomalies, but not expecting too much to go awry with all of the kit I'm using. Like I say, it's tried and tested kit. It's my main marathon goal. Have been a few things I've changed in training I thought might be interesting to talk about a little bit here. One is just on the running side of things. I've increased doubles, started doing double thresholds ahead of Valencia for the first time. Like, my kids got to a stage where they were sleeping well enough, I felt comfortable bulking up my training a little bit, so have done a few double thresholds in the build up to Valencia and then Seville. Mileage has been pretty high again, probably a little bit higher even than it was ahead of London, just trying to increase that steadily over time. Over years really, I've been increasing the mileage to get to the point where I am now, to do it kind of safely and in a way that the body can handle well. And then I've done more strength and conditioning. I've been using the Running Buddy app, which is created by a physiotherapist based in Ireland called Patrick Carroll, who's a very keen and good runner himself. And so it's really targeted strength training for runners with lots of interesting types of workouts within the app, including micro workouts, which is what I've been using. I've always struggled to do strength and conditioning regularly in terms of doing a couple of longer workouts a week. These micro workouts basically involve doing a plyometric move before your run, so like single leg hops or squat jumps, and then a couple of heavier strength training moves after your run, so calf raises, goblet squats, single leg goblet squats, Romanian, Bulgarian split squats, that kind of thing. So I've been able to fit those in fairly regularly into my training. I do think I'm stronger than ever. I weigh a little bit more than I usually weigh, which I'm putting down hopefully to extra muscle in the legs rather than me just putting on a bit of weight. And yeah, I've really found it a really good app to use. It's obviously very science-led, really gives you confidence you're doing the right kind of things. I'm hoping that might pay dividends because I've never really been great on strength training before with all my running, so this is something extra certainly I've added to my routine. And then other things I've added to my routine, there's only one other thing I want to mention, and that is lemon curd. I have never really had lemon curd in my life. Discovered it over the course of this marathon block. It's amazing having that all the time now. That feels like really good fuel. That might explain the weight gain actually, the lemon curd, but hopefully it's not the lemon curd. Hopefully it's the strength training, and we'll see the results tomorrow. Talk more about the kit after the race. It's all the usual stuff, like I say. And we'll also talk a bit more about the experience here in Seville. Expo is very easy. It's a bit out of town, but you can get there on the bus pretty quickly. The whole city's nice and small and walkable, very pleasant. The weather's very good. Expo, when I went yesterday, was not too crowded. There's only 14,000 runners, which it's a lot of runners, but it's not like Valencia or London, so it's got more of a low-key vibe that I'm enjoying quite a lot, and it just makes it a little bit more easy to focus on the race and not get swept up into a crazy atmosphere. But hopefully the atmosphere will be good tomorrow, and yeah, it'll be a nice fast marathon. Hopefully I'll PB, maybe I'll hit that moonshot goal, we'll see. Anyway, I'll talk to you after the race.
It's 7:30, I'm on my way to the start of the Asics Seville Marathon. On test today, Novablast 5 over a full marathon distance. It's the first time I've run a marathon in non-carbon plate shoes in a long time, even if I wasn't racing it. I did some stupid training on Friday, which I shouldn't have done, and generally I'm not in a place to race right now. We're going to see how it goes. I'm really interested to see how that non-carbon plate feels by the end of a marathon, I think. Obviously that's not kind of their use case normally, but Asics have got this big thing about comfort at the moment and running in comfort, so we shall see if I miss that bounce at the end when my form is failing.
I've just run a 2:25 marathon, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I've just I think I've just about 2-minute PB. It's just the best feeling. It posted brilliant. 1:13 at the half, a 1:23, 1:12, 32nd half. Just yeah, that was the best. That was the best. With the group to 15k, running quite well. 15 to 20, we slowed down a little bit, and I was like, gotta go. So I think I ran like a 17:40 5k. I've got to push on, and then the next 5k was 16:50, and the next one was sub 17 as well. I was like, well, either you've put yourself on for this, or you've just run yourself out of this race. Had like 26k, had a huge dose of just imposter syndrome, which I don't ever really get, and I was just like, yeah, well, what right do you have to run a sub 17 5k in the middle of a marathon? And yeah, just again, I thought if I could just make it to 35 with this little group I had going, and I did, and I was just ticking them off. Incredibly pleased. I'm gonna have to talk about it later. I'll find Gill and talk about it later, but Seville, baby, orange trees, and just an amazing marathon. Hello!
Hello!
Gill, she is. Gill, meant to be running a nice chilled marathon today in the Novablast. Gill Bland doesn't run slow marathons though. Gill, what did you run?
I ran 3:7:19.
And had Gill Bland on her vest, full name.
did.
Really, got to respect the hell out of that.
I wouldn't have had Mrs. Gill Bland.
Mrs.
if I'd
Gill
had
Bland,
the
yeah.
chance.
Yeah. All like BA, BSc, MA, yeah.
Yeah, always formality.
How did you find Seville?
Great course, I think. Generally quite wide. There was a little bit of cobbles at one point and a couple of tight turns towards the end as you go into the city, but a really good course, I think. I think it would have been quite hot if you were doing a bit longer out on the course, because it's very warm today. But there was a pleasant amount of shade because of kind of the areas that you went through. There was normally some kind of shade coming up, so it's a good course. Yeah, very flat. Very flat,
and they didn't really notice any hills apart from occasionally going under underpasses. Bit of winding, but yeah, like I say, there was shade. Like if you're in the sun, it was maximum like kind of one street in the sun, and then you'd be off it again. So yeah, as the sun gets higher in the sky, I think kind of 4 or 5 hours. It's now 20 degrees odd. It would be a bit tough, but fine if you're. I mean, it probably is unnaturally hot today, who knows? Yeah, and they did, to be fair, they did have a lot of water stations, and always both sides of the road, so they were very well equipped for that. Very keen to give you water, as you discovered. Yeah, they were so keen. They're like the 40k station I was coming through, I think I finished just about top 100, so not a lot of people have been through, and none of them are clearly taken water, because they were absolutely desperate to give out water at that point, but it was fine. They did get out of the way eventually. It was a bit Tour de France-esque, actually. So Gill Novablast, we highly recommend this shoe for marathons as a comfortable option that will see people to, well, pretty fast times as well. London Marathon Championship times, so enjoyed it. Did you? I did. I think it's at least like 8 years since I've run a marathon without a carbon plate shoe. Like since the 4% came in, I basically haven't run a marathon without a carbon plate shoe. So I was interested to see what would happen and how much at the end, when your form is failing and you need a bit of help, whether that would be the point where I think I'm really struggling to pick up my feet now. I haven't got that carbon plate just kind of rolling me forward all the time. But actually, I think I was having a good day anyway. So there's, some kind of, I'm always going to be slightly thinking great things about it. But I think actually it did work really well. It had a good energy return. The main thing, standard Novablast problem, slippy on water. It's just slippy anywhere that isn't perfectly dry. But yeah, that would be the only thing I'd say really. But I think in general, yeah, it did really well. And I do have, particularly my left foot does suffer from feeling quite the impacts on the ball of my feet. So the fact that I managed to get through the whole marathon and still feel relatively comfy, as Asics would say, I think it's pretty good. Yeah. That's right. Gill's here for the Comfort Conference with Asics.
Yes.
Should I stop by as well? Very comfortable conference all round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have run a Cumulus or a Nimbus.
I mean, they're pretty close. I mean, that's only half a mil lower than the Nimbus.
Yeah,
it's a lot lighter though.
Slightly more weighty, yeah. So I ran my first ever attempt at a sub 3 in Nimbuses. I think they were Nimbus 16 or 17 years ago. And that just fills me with dread now. You were in the Metaspeeds?
Yeah, Metaspeeds, shoe of choice. Asics got me the spot, but I've been wearing them anyway, to be honest. They obviously have PB'd in London, now PB'd here in them. They're just perfect. They're really
more comfortable than you expect for such a lightweight carbon shoe. I get the balls of the feet a little bit, but I noticed it, but didn't have any problems with it. Just really fast, really sporty, really comfortable, and then at the end, the turnover is just so good in them, and that's where I'll be interested to see if I do a marathon in one of the big bouncy carbon shoes, how I feel in that last bit, because obviously I'm a turnover runner, I don't have a lot of bounce, so maybe I'll get a load of bounce from the shoes and I'll run better, or the Asics just really helped me just keep turning over down that long home straight. Did a pretty solid last 2k, knowing what I needed to run, and I was struggling a bit, but other than that, everything was more or less my usual kit. So Magic socks, all the Decathlon shorts, all the Morton again, it all worked perfectly well. The thing I did change this time, we'll talk about, is the Running Buddy app, which is this strength training app. I was talking to Gill about strength training. Jill's pretty better at it than me, and Jill swims so much better than cross training than I am. So that, I think, I was probably a kilo heavier than I normally would be going into this marathon. I noticed on the scales, and obviously I felt amazing out there. That kilo was probably actually muscle I maybe was missing. So I do think this app, I think, so it's fairly expensive. It's $13.99 a month, I think. I need to check that. I'll put it in the on the video somewhere. But you are basically getting access to a specialist physiotherapist who's a very keen runner and a specialist, knows everything, and is giving you quite a lot of advice within the app as well as all his presentations of each exercise, the actual workouts he sets out. So it's pretty great. If you're a runner like me who doesn't like doing strength training and wants to start slipping in small amounts of it to start building up again, it's pretty perfect. It's all just the exact things you need to do. So something plyometric, something calf, something heavy on one leg, something like that, and it's just, so I think it's made a difference today. I had a lot of doubts the last couple of weeks. I'm pretty surprised actually it went so well. Anything else I'm going to shout out? Lemon curd, strength training for runners.
I use the Chorus armband to get my heart rate data. So I've not run a long race, so I was a little bit worried, is it going to chafe or anything like that, but it was totally fine, and I've got some solid heart rate data, so I'm really pleased with that. My Chorus watch, on the other hand, kept stopping itself, so I'm glad I double watched and used the Garmin.
Oh, what, on your wrist?
Yeah.
That digital dial, you gotta,
so annoying. And then I use the Metaspeed Speed Shorts, which I literally just never went anything new on race day, but basically everything was new on race day. But I really like them. They've got gel pockets. They've got kind of a cycling short underneath with gel pockets, and then a split short on top.
Perfect.
And they did work really well. So I'm normally very, very wedded to my on sprint shorts, but I did try a new thing, and they were excellent. And the vest was great. It's very kind of lightweight, tape seams, all that kind of stuff.
No chafage.
So, no chafage there at all. Yep, all good. And no black toenails either.
I'll do another little section after this where I've got the watches data uploaded from the Garmin Fenix versus the 965, but both of them were very similar all throughout. Red slightly long because you run slightly long in a marathon, and the markers. At some point I felt the markers were actually slightly iffy.
Yes, I was. It was the markers were behind me at one point, which is never.
That's odd. Yeah, occasionally you'd have one where you go, that's the long K, the next one's going to be short, and it was. Luckily, it was all first half. Second half felt fine to me, but
also at the end, it's quite built up, so the GPS feels a bit crazy.
Yeah, there were a
couple
couple
of miles.
Yeah, but I had a pretty strong pacing throughout with them. I was doing 5k splits, and I'll chuck the maps up. I look at the heart rate. So I wasn't wearing a band today, but I know roughly what my heart rate is in a marathon from using a band in the past.
Your heart rate was great. I've checked it out. It basically perfectly progressed from 150 to 160, and you only went over 170 for the last, I think it was 6 miles, just very gradually built to 178, I think it was.
So that's interesting,
because that's very well.
That is more or less my max, so that might be, because I have very low heart rate, not for fitness reasons, just genetically, I think. Yeah. So interesting, a good heart rate, you heard it here. So Jill knows that stuff.
Very nice progression of heart rate. I was largely running to heart rate. That's kind of how I set myself what I could do. So that's what I was interested in.
So that's very quick then, yeah. Well done, Jill. I'll throw up some watch data afterwards. I'll also do a little graphic of the nutrition because people always ask about nutrition. What did you use for nutrition, Jill?
I used a mixture of precision hydration, fuel and hydration gels, and high fives. So 3 of the PFNHs with one caffeinated one at about 2 hours in, and then alternating with high fives because they're just a little bit gentler.
Yeah, and the precisions are 30 grams, aren't they?
Yeah, so good amount of carbs. So basically about every half an hour.
I had a lot more caffeine today actually than I had in the past. I started to up the caffeine.
Stayed largely, I had one caffeinated one, and often I would use the Cispeta fuel, which is 200 milligrams of caffeine.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but this time I thought, well, I'm not racing. I'm going to stay off the caffeine and save it.
I want to sleep tonight, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice one.
I won't sleep tonight. I'm high on adrenaline.
All right, well, my arm's going to drop off,
yes.
But thank you everyone for watching.
Done, Nick.
Thanks to everyone. Cheers. Thanks to anyone who shouted about the run testers or I saw afterwards. Nice to meet you all, obviously. And yeah, we'll be back soon with other races. Mike's done the winter run today. So there we go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I've got Berlin half coming up. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, a few last thoughts on the race that I want to mention. One is that if you are watching this because you're at the Seville Marathon next year and are wondering if the tube runs early enough on Sunday morning to go to the start, it does. I use the tube, underground, metro, whatever you call it, to get to the start line. It wasn't meant to be running as far as I could tell, but I checked the station near me and I've got an Airbnb quite far from the centre, so I was able to use that to get in. And I've just used the DC Rainmaker Analyzer to have a look at the heart rate of the watches and the GPS, both pretty much identical from both watches. Heart rate shows a nice steady progression, like Gill says, like hits my max heart rate right at the end, but that makes sense. I was absolutely going for it, really was grimacing on the way in there. So looks like a really good heart rate reading, which is expected in pretty good warm conditions here. I'd say in general, the Fenix 8 sometimes is a bit better than the Forerunner 965 for heart rate accuracy, but pretty close today. And on GPS, the tracks look absolutely identical, and the distance is slightly long, but the pacing, I was able to use both watches for pacing quite well throughout the race. So I think, really impressive performance on both fronts. Other last thing to mention is another piece of kit I've used this weekend is the Silo bag, which is a very good gym or runner's bag with lots of different compartments to store your Morton in separate areas and things like that. And it's small enough to fit in the cabin bag, under seat bag for Ryan there. I checked that at the airport by shoving it in to make sure it was small enough. So I'll talk more about that in our end of the month video, but quite a nifty little traveling bag for weekends away at things like marathons, because you can get all your stuff in there with a separate shoe compartment and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, the Seville Marathon, last thing I'll say about the race itself was really well organised, got a pretty strict cut-off time, but other than that, which kind of makes sense because it does get quite hot here, but a really well organised event, very easy to get around the city. Everything's kind of walkable unless you go as far out as I have. But if you don't do that, and even if you do that, there's very easy to get around the buses. Expo is a bit of a way out, but again, pretty easy to get to and from. Just a really nice city to be in February all round. So a really good event, worth checking out. And Valencia's become the big Spanish one, and it is an amazing event. It's probably like my favourite marathon. But the Seville course is unbelievably fast. The field is big enough that you have people to run with the whole way, like I did today, but it's not so crowded. The start's a lot more chilled out, easy to get to. There's not a billion toilets, but there's enough toilets, I would say, and they get people off really quickly at the start there, so everyone's kind of starting together quite nicely. So yeah, really worth checking out. A nice early in the year marathon that I think really has the course to run your fastest time, as I have done today, and just a slightly less stressful one maybe than some of the way. Even Valencia's now got so big. London's obviously very, very big. I haven't been to the American ones, I'm sure they're crazy. Berlin's pretty crazy. It's a little bit more low key here, and that makes for a slightly more relaxing experience, and you're in a lovely city that's very walkable, very good all round, and the whole event's been really well organised. So yeah, love the Seville Marathon. Look forward to maybe doing it again one day. And yeah, see you next time. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell so you get notified when we do new videos.